Effects of poverty on developing countries. In this blog we will study the effects of poverty on developing countries. Poverty is a global phenomenon affecting every country. While its causes are deeply rooted in the political, social, and economic fabric of society, its effects on individuals and states are tangible and far-reaching. Poverty affects children before they are born and thwarts their development afterwards. It impedes effective learning, which weakens the economy over time. Poverty is a significant challenge in most societies. A flourishing business will easily grow and become successful if it is placed in an area where the people are already wealthy. However, if a business does not have support from the local community due to high poverty levels, the business may fail. It is for this reason that causes of poverty must be determined and eradicated. On the other hand, the effects of poverty on developing countries can also be eradicated if proper approaches are used. Effects of poverty on men in developing countries. Poverty is a problem of the world, and it has a higher percentage of effect on some areas. Such areas are Australia, North America, China, Japan, and Africa. Poverty is not only defined as people who don't have money, it is also defined as the scarce resources that a person or place lacks to meet basic needs such as food, clothing, and shelter. Poverty is a continuous force that creates stress for millions of men in developing countries. Poverty can be a result of cultural beliefs, as well as government policies and international trade. In developing countries, some of the world's poorest men struggle to work their way out of poverty. While war, famine, and plague often dominate the media, many men in poor regions struggle with the disease, hunger, and a lack of education. These men strive to survive and scratch any chance of succeeding from an already difficult existence. Effects of poverty on women in developing countries. According to the World Development Report, the effects of poverty on women in developing countries are widespread and contribute to their low standard of living. Causes of poverty include poor literacy levels, lack of job skills and education, non-existent or unaffordable healthcare, discrimination on the basis of race, gender, or disability, and lack of access to credit loans. Women in developing countries experience the effects of poverty differently than men. The effects can be felt disproportionately in many areas, such as health, education, work, and so on. While there are many causes of poverty that impact women in developing countries, several stand out. Effects of poverty on children in developing countries. How poverty affects children in developing countries. Children in developing countries are vulnerable to poverty, disease, and malnutrition. Without food, medicine, and proper care, these children live chronically ill lives and face a host of problems as a result of their illnesses. Poverty is among the main causes of hunger in the United States. Many individuals and families have to make a trade-off between buying food and paying for other expenses such as health insurance, utility bills, medical expenses, and others. The nature and impact of poverty on children in developing countries is a complex and multifaceted issue. Poverty is generally understood as the inability to provide basic necessities for a happy and healthy life. Child poverty has adverse effects on children. It is recognized as a major contributor to hunger, malnutrition, and poor health. Children that do not receive adequate nutrition tend to be sicker, more lethargic, less attentive in class, and have difficulty with learning. Child poverty continues throughout adolescence and into adulthood, thus compounding its effects. Adults who grow up in extreme poverty are far less likely to have had access to adequate food, shelter, or clothing than their wealthier counterparts. Effects of poverty on animals in developing countries. Animals in developing countries have little protection under the law and are often subject to cruelty, mistreatment, and neglect. Thousands of animals suffer every day because of poverty. Poverty is an enemy of wildlife, as it can cause habitat loss, overexploitation of animals for food, and the spread of diseases like Ebola from human contact with wild animals. Poverty has a great impact on animals. Most of the animals suffer from poor health due to a lack of adequate nutrition and care in most developing countries. Poverty and hunger are the largest contributors to animal suffering worldwide. The most compelling statistics and facts on poverty, its effects on animals, and what you can do to help. While natural disasters have caused immense human devastation in the developing world and rural areas, in recent years, economic problems have been a significant cause of poverty. Effects of poverty on crime in developing countries. The three causes of poverty include lacking rights and choices, lack of skills and assets, and lack of social assistance. The effects of poverty on crime in developing countries include preventing the country from developing economically, encouraging criminal activity by people who have been denied opportunities, and encouraging the trafficking of weapons to poor areas where no effective law enforcement is possible. Poverty is one of the major and most complex challenges in developing countries like Nepal. It causes multiple problems. For example, the lack of resources compels people to commit crimes and violence against each other in order to earn money. UNHABITAT attempts to research poverty in an effort to find solutions to this problem. Effects of poverty on food in developing countries. Poverty is when you don't have much of almost anything. This can affect every part of your life, from the food you eat to the ways that you get around. These pages focus on the problems caused by poverty and the effects on people in developing countries. Poverty affects millions of people worldwide, especially in developing countries, because there is not enough food to feed all of the world's people. Food is the primary reason for poverty in many developing countries. There are many causes of food insecurity. If you live in poverty, you are more likely to be malnourished and have worse health. Worse health.